Oh, I'm live, I think. We have 6 minutes to 7. We're going to talk Pride. It's Pride Month. As you come on, share the live. I was just warming up to release some stress. uh, there's so many issues that we're battling as a community. And so please share the live. We're going to get started. I was just stretching with a little weight to get my mind and some heaviness off because there's so much to talk about. There's so much that we're doing every day as a community, advocating for issues that as human beings we shouldn't have to, but we have to. So therefore, it's Pride Month, and we want to have this conversation. So we're going to start talking around in about 5 minutes. So share the broadcast. Come on, if you know anyone in the Pride community who want to be a part of this conversation, go right ahead and share. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Pride Month, and we want to have some conversation year round. So, good evening, Enrica. How are you, gorgeous lady? Yeah, thank you for being here today. Hope we have some conversation going for a good 20 minutes. Let's talk about pride. So how is your day, Henrika? How has your week been? So good evening. As you come on, Aurora Black Community Association is about diversity, equity, inclusion, and therefore it is only appropriate that we're having this conversation. So, as you come on, before we get started, please invite someone to this conversation. And I hope we have some chats that will be happening in this talk. Um, we want to celebrate people. We want to celebrate human being. We want to celebrate multiculturalism. We want to celebrate what diversity really is and that what the talk is about. So, if you're just jumping on, let me know if you identify with the LGBT community, and let's get talking. I think I should share the post from my phone. So give me a minute. Let me do that. Let's see. I think there's a. Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Good to hear that you're doing amazing. Again, it's Pride Month. We want to have this conversation year round and take action year round. And so I didn't invite any official person from the LGBT conversation because I know this month is busy for most of those speakers and they've been tagged here and there. I can identify because we see that happen in Black History Month. So, because we know we don't want all those issues and those conversations, it should not just be choked into June. We know there's going to be an ongoing conversation. So, good evening and welcome. Let's see. So 2 more minutes and I'll get started. All right, good evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm Fiona from the Oro Black Community Association. I have a video that I want to share with you, and let's have that conversation. I also have I just want to also talk about why are we having this conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation that we didn't realize it's necessary to be talking about, but it is necessary. Black history, pride, indigenous community. There's so many to talk about, and they're all necessary and important. So, diversity is about a collective mixture of human being and the identities that they have within the space. And so that's your age, your gender, your race, the disabilities, etc., all those things, the visible and the invisible identities. So even in behavior, right? So those that's what diversity is. And because we are about diversity with Aurora Black community, and it's a place for all Auroran, all human being who understand the value of working together and collaborating and building up unity, then it's only necessary that we're having this conversation. So as you come on out, let me hear which community you're from, what you have to share. How are you addressing this? Maybe you're a parent raising a child that's been bullied at school because of their gender and sexual orientation. Then we want to hear from you. We looked at what we call it again, diversity. There's no point of diversity if there's no inclusion. So we do understand that inclusion is necessary because it's that welcoming, people are feeling respected and belonged, and that they are allowed to show up and have an impact in a meaningful way. So sometimes we see that places have diversity, but there's no real inclusion. So you're in the door, but you're in there and you're stifling, you're in there and you're struggling. You're not um, you're not giving the safe place to make meaningful impact. And so we hope that as you come on and as we share and talk today, we can really look at why a Pride Month and we can celebrate because we can identify in a different ways with those from the Pride community. And I just want to make it very clear that I do not identify with the LGBT community and I do not speak for them. But as a Black woman, I do understand what diversity is. And diversity, like I said before, is that collective mixture of human being, whether in race, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender. So as you come on today, thank you for joining. It's Pride Month, and I want to hear from you. What are the concerns that you're hearing? How can we support what you're working on? How can we support the community? How can we support this part of what it is to be diverse community? How can we continue to build a safe space where everyone feel respected, safe, welcoming? There was a speaker in Toronto after the police officer was making the report about their new race data, and she said, right now is Pride Month. And even in the Black communities, the LGBT community have double issues. You have to worry about how you're seen as someone who identify with the LGBT community, and you have to also worry about being Black. So they're double layer that you're facing in racism and discrimination. And so it's affecting us in every different ways. So today, as you come on, let us know what, sorry, just saw this. Right, so I'm going to share this video, and there's this video, and again, we want to hear from you. We want to, if you're parenting, if you're a mom, if you identify, we want to hear from you. As we know, we share different pains. Whether or not I've been discriminated against because of my skin color, a person is discriminated against because of sexual orientation, we're both feeling pain, different reason, different reason. So we can be able to identify and show compassion and love and support in each other. So I'm going to play this video. I really love it. It's on YouTube, and I will pause and let's have a conversation about it. Why is it not playing?
Fundraiser for her, I donated my last $10 out of her hair salon in Mount Vernon, New York. Found out that my teacher, Miss Peterson, had lost her home due to a fire, and she was living out of her hair salon in Mount Vernon, New York. When I found out that they were doing a fundraiser for her, I donated my last $10 that I had because I understood exactly what not having a home felt like. When word got back to Miss Peterson that I was the only student in the school to donate to her fundraiser, she said, "Hey, Dee, I just really want to thank you so much for what you did for me." I said, "Mama P, let's just say I know all too well what not having a home feels like." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I don't have family. I don't got nobody right now. But I choose to come to school every single day in hope that I will build a home again, the home that I didn't have growing up as a youth." She said, "Well, for starters, I want you to know you're not alone. And from this moment on, you can come by my hair salon whenever you want to get your hair done. So we can start off by taking the t-shirts off your head." I said, "Well, that's amazing," because I was tired of the black and the white Hanes t-shirts. And she said, "Don't worry. Pain is not something that's equated to experience. It's the feeling we all have the right to feel." I recognize this moment in my life as a transformative moment because my pain was gender transition. Her pain was losing her home. After graduating high school, I felt like, "Daniela, you've arrived.
I
The
want to
pain,
I want
the
to pause
trauma
it there
is
for a
over."
minute.
But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I went on to college in Rochester, New York, where I met a group of friends. And one of my friends said,
I want to pause it there for a minute. And I don't know if who heard that, but can you tell me the two different pains that she just mentioned? She was feeling one pain, the teacher was feeling another. And if you didn't hear it, I want to repeat that because that was powerful and I want you to hear it from her mouth. So let me go back.
"Trauma is over." But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I went on to college in Rochester, New York, where I met a group of friends. And one of my friends said, "It's over, losing our home." After graduating high school, I felt like, "Daniela, you've arrived. The pain, the trauma is over." But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I went on to college in Rochester, New York, where I met a group of friends. And one of my friends said, "This moment in my life as a transformative moment because my pain was gender transition. Her pain was losing her home." After graduating high school, I felt like, "Daniela, you've arrived. The pain, the trauma is over."
So we're all feeling different pains, transitioning pain, homelessness pain. And so to not being able to identify with people and say, because I'm not from the LGBT community, I can't identify. As a transgender person, she's just explaining how we can all identify to different pains. Her pain was a transitioning pain. Her principal pain was the homelessness. So sometimes we remove ourselves and say, it's not my thing. I'm not affected. I can't identify. But we can identify if we stop to think about it. I want to play the next part to continue because she has a powerful story.
But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I went on to college in Rochester, New York, where I met a group of friends. And one of my friends said, I'm going to be homeless during winter recess. The RA can't help me anymore, and I don't know what to do. I said, well, I could help out. I mean, I don't have much back home myself, but I have friends and have a community that'll open their doors at least for at least one night max. And that's how we'll get through the winter recess. We experienced the two R's that no one wants to experience. She experienced robbery, and I experienced rape. At that moment in my life, I felt so empty. The kind of emptiness that I'm sure many of us have felt. When we begin to question and say, why me? What did I do to deserve this? I'm a great person. I do everything right. I didn't do anything wrong. But why me? That was the questions that I was living in. The very pain and the very trauma that left me empty. After feeling so empty, I could no longer pursue my college education. I returned back to New York City. And in this pivotal moment of pain, I knew I had to redefine my role because I was living in the very pain that many people can no longer live in. And they make the choice to take their life. For me, it wasn't hard to make that decision to say, do I want to live or do I want to die? But I understood the need of my existence because I said, there's no way that a woman like yourself can exist in a world that says she is not perfect and you should be a he. I live in a world that tells me when I walk through the doors of many places, you don't see my personality, you see my complexion. And so I turned to my friend and I said, listen, we can't keep doing survival sex work. One of us got to get out of this. I applied to an internship program in New York City, and shortly after I got accepted.
That is what we have to live with. It is heavy, it is real, and it cannot be dismissed. Heavy, real, and cannot be dismissed. As she mentioned, sometimes this overwhelming battle leads to suicide. And so we have a mental health program that we're working on because mental health is so important. But not just mental health because of just mental health, but the things that can leading people into mental health. So that's not my background, so I won't touch that deep. But guys, as we celebrate and recognize and acknowledge Pride Month, let's be intentional. We want to hear from you. What can we do? How can we do better? How can we take action? Because as a person who knows what it feels like to wear the pen, I got this pen from P Flag at the parade, the Pride Parade in Newmarket, and it says "Hugs for All." It's one thing to wear a pen. It's one thing to put up a rainbow flag. It's another thing to do the action. It's another thing to do the action. So, if you're just coming on, thank you for joining. I'm just having a quick conversation and touching base with you as it's Pride Month. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is what we are about. A place where people of all race, age, and gender and sex disabilities, visible, um, visible diversity, invisible identities, and visible identities coexisting. So we want to have those conversations and be transparent about it and being uncomfortable about it. And so we're going to be having this conversation further. I've been having some talks with members from PFLAG to do ongoing workshops and having conversation because we need to create that safe space. Inclusion, we can't have diversity without inclusion, as I mentioned before. Diversity, again, if it's ever been misexplained to anyone, it is that collective mixture of human being and their and the identities they have coexisting together in one space. So again, your race, your sex, your gender, your age, your disabilities, invisible identities, visible identities. But without inclusion, That's all talk, because we've seen where many places have diversity. You can see different skin color, different things. But when you're in, the door is open and you're in, but you're not treated right. You're mistreated. You don't have the space to make meaningful impact. So we need inclusion that is welcoming, respectful. You can have a sense of belonging. So that's the conversation we're having today. As you either watch this now or the replay, we want to hear from you. If you need a private conversation, we've sent that email out to say email us at abc@aurorablackcommunity.com so we can follow up and create a Zoom, because we're going to have some mental health conversation around this and other issues and things that we are raising and addressing as we're dealing with different communities, social issues that we fight with. So thank you for joining me. I know it was supposed to be 20 minutes. It's about almost 22 minutes, but thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. The message, if you saw that YouTube, go continue to watch it. It is powerful. We can identify, even if, like I said, I clearly declare that I do not identify with the LGBT community. I'm in the back and on the side speaking, because I don't speak, say, for them, but as a Black woman, as a place that we understand what it is to celebrate diversity and inclusion, this is a conversation that couldn't be more appropriate, because it's happening here in our community. We understand also the different cultural background in Jamaica. I know it's changing, but you dare not say you were gay, lesbian, or you could not. People are getting beaten, kicked out, abused. And I'm sure there are many other cultures that you can't even say that because of their religious belief and upbringing. So we want the safe space when we can talk, express, and share, and grow together as a community, because none of us is safe until everybody is okay. So thank you again for watching. I love you. I appreciate you. And we look forward to some conversation and some questions later. And we will give you more as we continue to speak with PFLAG and create workshops around this year round, because this is necessary. It is powerful, is important. And so with, again, ABC being bridging cultures and building community and bringing people together, it is important to have these conversations and let people know that we're here. We're here for the work that affects every one of us as residents of Aurora. And this is one of them. This is one of them, especially in our youth. Especially in our youth. None of our youth should be walking around feeling a need to take their own lives because they don't belong, or they don't feel belong at home, in their schools, at the playground. I was walking in Upper Canada Mall, and they had this decoration set up for Pride. And a little boy said to Mom, he was passing, and he says, "Mom, what's that?" I couldn't hear how she fully explained it. But that's what we need, to be honest to children when they ask the questions. Age appropriate, speak to them to their knowledge and to their level. You know what to do as a parent. It's in your control. But when they ask these questions, we should speak to them. So thank you again. If you're just coming on, we were just having a quick 20 minutes conversation to touch on Pride Month, because it's about diversity and inclusion. And we can't talk about one without the other. And we should be in a country and a community where everyone feels safe and belong. We can't just put on the tag. We can't just put on the sticker or the t-shirt. We can't just join the parades and say yay and get our selfies. We need action and ongoing year-round conversation. And so as you do the same for Black History Month, wanting to be February and forever, June and forever. And again, if you didn't hear that piece of conversation from the video that we just shared, Sometimes we can say, I don't identify with LGBT communities, I don't know. But the lady was saying how she was feeling the pain of transitioning because she's a transgender. But the other person that she was relating to was feeling the pain of being homeless. We all know what pain is. Different level, different kind, but it's still PAIN, or wherever you spell it in your language. Let's be respectful. Let's be welcoming. Let's willing to hear and listen, embrace. As a Christian, I don't know where Christians will even come from judging, because we are there to love people and embrace people and let everybody know that they belong, because we do belong. We do belong. So, thank you again. Um, it's a pleasure having this conversation with you. There's so much more to come as we put together a mental health program, some more program with PFLAG and other LGBT community, because we want to be meaningful. We know what it is to have performative, tokenized things thrown to the Black community. So we will never tolerate that or deliver that to any other community that we serve. Thank you. Have an amazing day. I'll play another minute of this girl speaking as we sign out.
Me and my friend, in a transformative moment, passed by a newsstand, and I said, "Hey girl, she's very pretty. We should read this article. I mean, every beautiful girl always have a great story." He was like, "Girl, I gotta go home. I can't wait around to read a beautiful girl's story." But see, it was something special about that girl, because that girl reflected my identity, something I didn't have growing up, and that was Janet Mock, New York Times best-selling author. When I reached out to Janet in 2010 in an impassioned email, I reached out not asking for the fame, for the glam, but for the very tools that I lack and the very tools that can become resources for my community. After reaching out to Janet, she connected me with community leaders that liberated me. They liberated me in a way that helped me realize either I was going to take my trauma and violence and turn it into freedom and success, or I was going to end up committing suicide. A year later, the unimaginable happened. I was a part of the Emmy Award-winning documentary, Laverne Cox Presents the T-Word. I also traveled the globe advocating for youth who's living not only in marginalization, but in the very truth I identified with, homelessness. No resource, no family, no acceptance. I then went on and worked with a woman by the name of Lawrence Ashley Hunter. And we built a coalition that is now servicing youth all across this country. And so I know now the question is, okay, there's no way you can go from being in foster care, homeless, and all of a sudden you just get on TV. So it's the very question many people ask me, how did you do it? How could that pain have liberated you? I learned that in life, all you have is choices. Many of us wake up and we make the most amazing choices we can. And they take us to the very places we dreamed of or the unimaginable places. And that's the pain that I no longer wanted to live in, but the freedom I knew I had to. So I do what I like to call not just affirmations, but self-acceptance. The act of saying, I have to live in a world where people say I'm wrong. So I'm going to accept the very things that people don't about me. And that's what I challenge you to do, to accept everything that people don't. Because if you accept and internalize the things that people don't accept about you, you will not only live in the pain, you will not only live in the trauma, but you'll suppress the very pain that can become your success. And so I know it sounds like, oh, you're lucky. You're on TED. But in 2015, in the month of August, 3 transgender women of color were reported murdered in one day. Many reports come in every single month. 41% of my community have attempted suicide. The ever-growing number of 2.5 million homeless youth. And the harsh reality it must be to walk out saying, I'm going to the doctor, and then you're dead. So am I the lucky one, or am I the chosen one? That's the question I will never know the answer to. But what I do know is I'm standing here in my truth, and I'm standing here in my pain. But the difference between my pain 4 years ago and my pain now is that my pain has liberated me. It has liberated me in a way that I hope to liberate you here today. So I ask that you join the revolution of loving and accepting someone different, because in the eyes of someone else, you are different to them. And different is the new frontier.